All right, guys, what's going on? As you all know, we are dealing with this whole COVID-19 thing, which is turning into COVID-20. I guess I don't know how they do. I guess it started in 2019. Now it's in 2020, and it could be 2023 for all we know. I mean, just the way things are going. But one thing that how it's affected me, my daughter, our lives, besides her school closing down for the rest of the school year, which is insane. You've got academies like Alpha Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is the academy that we attend, having to close its doors for 30 days, and then who knows after that. So it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. I thought it'd be good to, I don't know, how many days are we in now, Tad?
So last Thursday, so the 7 days before Thursday, that's when we sent out the email sort of calling it and saying, hey, we don't really know what we're dealing with right now. So let's err on the side of caution. And so we've been closed for, basically 11 days now or so. But that's like different than we were a little bit before some of the Virginia mandated, like only 10 people in a
Yep.
gathering and stuff like that. So we were a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you guys really were. And so, I mean, if you guys can imagine, I mean, what this does to a school. One thing that Tad Merryman from Alpha, the owner of Alpha Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one of the things that he has had to do is a lot of video. I mean, he's been putting out video every day for the kids' classes, for adult classes, and just doing his part. On top of that, one thing I'd like to talk about is he's putting together a repository online of pretty much all the techniques that you learn in jiu-jitsu, and
I'm going to run over to keep talking. I'll be right back.
okay, he'll be right back. But one of the things that he's putting together is this amazing repository. He sent me the link to it, and this thing's amazing. It's where you're able to click on different moves from different positions and being able to see a video showing you how's that move supposed to look, which is amazing because, in jiu-jitsu, there's so many different moves, and you're maybe as a beginner, especially you forget, oh, how do you do that move? You go back, you look at that, it's quick, you go right to the move, whatever you want. It's kind of like, it's like the Google of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm really excited about that. It's actually faster than Google because you don't have to type it in. You just, it's all right there, right in front of you. So that's amazing. Anyway, as I was saying, Tad is doing a lot of things with his time off. Oh, there you go. So there it is. There's the beta of that particular site, and when it's ready to go live, we'll make sure we post it, and he'll be putting it out.
So I sent out the links to some of our students. I sent it out to our group. But yeah, just to kind of add on to sort of what Leo was saying, is it's basically just a video dictionary of a lot of the things that we do in class. And I've built the framework on the back end to be pretty flexible. So when new stuff comes up, we can do that. And I'll give you a quick preview of this.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
If I click on guard, and then I click on like advanced, so you'll see there's a whole list of like these are a bunch of different sweep options, right? And then so this will just give you sort of the verbiage of some of the techniques, like maybe, okay, what is that called? What is this? What is that? But you can go and say, oh, what are some options that I have from this type of guard? Then you can go and you say, okay, well, let's look at tripod sweep. So if I click tripod sweep, it's going to pop up this quick. And all the videos that we have on here are between like 3 and 8 seconds, depending on the technique. Some of them have multiple angles, and then just kind of plays it over like a GIF.
How cool is that?
Screen here, it goes away, and then I can jump to another technique. Maybe I hit something, maybe I didn't. I did. Perfect.
Bam.
And so I can just go through and look at all the different techniques.
Look at that. Look at that beautiful sweep. Yeah, him and Garrett Beck, black belt at from Abmar's, put that together. You guys, how many hours did it take for you guys to put all that stuff, all the video together for that?
So to film it all, it took probably right around 2.5 hours. And so the way, like, so I have an app on my phone to do the recording, and that's got like a pause feature. It kind of works similar to like how not Snapchat, but Instagram does video. We can record for a few seconds, pause, record again,
Right, right.
and then it just uploads that up. And I'll just show
That's
you one
awesome.
other thing. So this is like one of our students, little Lily.
Oh yeah.
Had her. I asked for her parents
Permission?
for this.
Okay, cool.
I got it earlier, um, because she's like one of the cutest. You have her little picture here. But all the students, the other thing that this is tied into for our students is so they can go in and they can see, okay, these are the techniques that she's done, right? And then she can click on those and get a review of what's going on with that as well.
Bam. So if you're a student at Alpha Jiu-Jitsu, not only do you get the whole repository, but the moves that you're supposed to learn at the time to get you to the next level are all right there, annotated for you, ready to go.
Sweet. So
That's
thanks
that's
for letting
awesome.
me plug that, Leah.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate it.
dude, I told you, I said, because Tad told me about this idea like 2 years ago, and I was like, man, when that comes together, that's going to be. I haven't found that. I mean, looking for moves and stuff, you go on YouTube, you go. I haven't found it. Maybe I haven't been looking hard enough, but I haven't found nothing like that. So, once people start realizing this thing's out there, I'm telling you, the traffic's going to be insane. You better get your own server or something set up.
Yeah, I need to. I don't know how robust the back end of this right now, but hopefully it's not too bad.
That thing's going to be crashing
But
pretty soon.
so to just kind of follow on what you're saying, yeah, it's like we've had to completely shift our focus, right? So, um, just to give you like the people that are listening and watching, a quick overview. So basically Monday through Saturday, really, we're like in the gym a lot. On Mondays, we have a 4 and 5 year old class that would start at 4:45, immediately followed by a 6 to 12 class. And then we were running a free self-defense class after that we ended up having to cancel the last week of. And then we have our adult class. It was an hour and a half. So basically from 4:45 till 9 o'clock at night on Mondays. And then Tuesdays from 5:30 to 8:30. Wednesdays is the same schedule as Monday, 4:45 to 9. 5:30 to 9 on Thursdays, and then 5 till about 8:30 p.m. on Friday. And then we have morning classes beginning 11:30, going all the way till 3 p.m. on Saturdays. So that is a lot of time commitment we have in the gym, but it's not a big deal because we open a gym because we love to do the gym. But it has been a huge, like, I have a lot more free time, so to speak. So I was able to like put a little bit more time into developing the app and working out some of the bugs there, coming in on the weekend, do some filming. And then, like you said, we shifted our focus to kind of online lessons to try to keep people engaged because, they, and I get it, man. Like, not every person's in a position where, you know, they can just throw away money to an academy owner, right? Like, oh, well,
Exactly.
he's a good guy, so why don't we just keep paying him, even though we're not getting anything for it? And that can be difficult. So, um, so we're trying to make people still feel engaged with, and not to mention that, like, if I wasn't doing this, I would go a little bit crazy because jujitsu is such a big part of my life. Like, what am I going to do with my day? So this has allowed me to maintain just some semblance of my previous routine.
How much how much time how much time did you say you usually spend in the gym every week? Like how many hours would you say?
Probably like 25.
25 hours in the gym. And so now it's like 25 hours of there's nobody coming in. They're not allowed to. You're under martial law, sort of, so to speak, right? Like, nope, don't do it. It's not safe or whatever.
I'm kind of curious about it. I wonder what the enforcement is. Like, you know, I'd like to. We should have a constitutional lawyer brought on here as well to just see like what can the state of Virginia, what can the federal government actually impose on us? as
on
far as
on
this type of thing goes.
on the business owners. What can they do? The business. Well, I'll tell you this. Okay, so I was getting lunch the other day, like last week, I guess, and they actually had fire marshals driving around. What do you call them? Strip malls to make sure that nobody was violating 10 people inside the establishments. So
Right. So I mean, yeah, I think that you can go around and do that, but I guess at some point, like if let's say that you had 15 people in it, and I'm definitely not gonna do any
he's
of
not
this
going to do
stuff,
it, guys. He's an honest guy, whatever, right?
right? But my point is like if you had a business and you had 12 people and then the fire marshals drove by and they gave you a ticket, then can you basically go to court and say, look, there's no legal precedence for you being able to shut us down over something that you like. We don't even have substantial like and I'm not saying that the government's doing the wrong thing.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I guess it does bring up some interesting legal questions as to can the state of Virginia actually impose these types of restrictions on its residents?
Well, I think at this point, and it's interesting because, I love the capitalist system here in the United States because so much of our country, our lifeblood, money, right, is driven by the business owners. So, you push sort of this whole thing to a certain extent, and then what happens? Like it's one thing to say, okay, you guys got to close down for 2 weeks, a month, whatever, but then people are like, well, we're going to shut down, we're going to close down here, and extend that to like say people at home. We got to get out of here. We can't just be on lockdown, especially the fact that, like you said, the results of this thing. People are not dropping like flies. It does turn out to be not what the media said that it was or is or whatever. And then people start going, oh, this isn't that bad. We're going back to life.
Like at this point, like, and this is just kind of like being more philosophical. And I don't like that this is kind of turned into a political thing, like where it's like, oh, this versus that. But if you go out there and you try to find like what is the mortality rate of the COVID-19, you can't find it.
Right.
No one actually says what the COVID, because they basically they're happy to give you the percentage of this many deaths per this many confirmed cases, but all of them are very careful never to call that the mortality rate because the confirmed cases has nothing. It's so much smaller than the number of actual cases, and we don't really know that. Like I saw something a few days ago that was said China had come out and released something to the effect of up to like 17 or 18% of people show no symptoms. So like, if that's the case, well, how many people actually have this thing? How many people are not being tested? God bless them. Fairfax County had a press conference the other day where they kind of, this was like a week ago, and they were like, look, there's nothing to be worried about. Everything's fine. Like only 2 people have tested positive for the coronavirus in our state.
Right.
And both of those people were in direct contact with somebody else who had coronavirus.
Right.
So like the only people that are testing positive for this thing are people that have come into direct contact with somebody. But then they do something really funny is in the next paragraph of speech that they give us is they're like, yeah, we're only testing people who have come into direct contact with other people that have had it. It's like, okay, well, yeah, if that's how we're operating, then 100% of the people that test positive will have had to have resulted from direct contact with someone else.
Yeah,
it's hard to know exactly what we're up against.
Right. Yeah, and the sort of the reasoning behind why we're doing this in the first place isn't so much because you're gonna get it if you don't. That's not what it is. We're trying to make it so that hospitals can stay at pace with treating people with this stuff, right? Because like it's the flu, you're gonna get it at some point. Right. It's just They want,
Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree, right? Like this is the whole like flatten the curve. We want to slow the rate at which people get infected so that we don't saturate our healthcare system
right.
and hospital beds, and that we can actually treat people as they get sick. And then also the second is to, you know, push back the date so that we have more time to study the illness so that we can come up with more effective treatment. So like I get it. It's just but
Well, the
we're
big
impatient as people. So
the big thing that is going to the real scourge of this whole thing is going to be what it's doing to businesses like yours. That's the real problem. It's economically going to devastate us if we do this for too long.
right, and so that's going to have to be something that's taken into account. It's like, okay, well, what happens when our rents due? What happens
Right.
when, the gym across the street's mortgages due? Like, what kind of forgiveness is going to be in place? What are we going to do for that? But it's like the buck has to stop somewhere, right? Like we get sort of in this idea, and I have friends that are like, yeah, well, my landlord, like, well, they're just not going to get paid. The landlord's got bills too, right? Like
Yeah.
his revenue stream is being interrupted as well.
Yeah.
And he's got things that he needs to pay for and bills that he needs to pay for of his own. And so like I get it. It's just it's a difficult situation.
Terrible.
And we just gotta be like, less divisive about it. Just and I think at this point, I think that people have pretty much unified around the idea that like, yeah, flattening the curve is the right attitude. You know, but you're right, man. Like, what is it going to do? Like, I have friends that are, you know, personal trainers. Personal trainers, like, they're getting paid per lesson.
I used to be one, man. I used to be one, and I couldn't have imagined. I mean, we'd have to do something like what you're doing, where we just have to hold like virtual training or something. Everybody's basically being, whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but we're like being forced into, hey, you better get your internet webinar / virtual whatever game on tight now. This is the time to start getting that on tight.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. That's like, I mean, everything's got to be. But see, the problem is like with jiu-jitsu is like, you really want to do it. Like the sport is about doing it. Like with the personal training, maybe to some extent you can say, okay, I need you to go get these band resistance. I need you to get these dumbbells or kettlebell or whatever it is.
Right. Well, you know what?
And I'm going to sit here and walk you through how to do this.
I'll tell you what. They might actually be in a better situation than like a jiu-jitsu academy, because look at Peloton. You know about the Peloton bike?
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. It's like you buy the bike and then everything is virtual. It's like you can train virtually, and people can make great results by talking to their trainer, nutritionist, and all that, and get results. But with jiu-jitsu, it's like, sorry, man, you have to actually, get out of those situations. You actually have to feel it. Your body has to be there for jiu-jitsu to happen. I mean, you can learn it up here, but I like what you guys have been doing, though. I love that you have that. Speaking of Lily, her and her sister on the watching you online on the TV, and then their sisters, they both do jiu-jitsu together, so they're able to train together. So it's like we're seeing a lot of people that do jiu-jitsu like bringing their kids and or spouses and saying, hey, can you help me with this? I mean, it's not the same as.
I need you to throw on the ski for a little while, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I still haven't gotten my wife to go with that, but anyway, she just doesn't like to be in any weird, I'm going to get myself in a weird place. But anyway, needless to say, some of our spouses aren't so willing partners, but I mean, it just seems to me like and one reason why I wanted to get you on is because you seem to be attacking this, because you do have a lot of background with video and obviously, you do a lot of stuff on the web anyway, and you're kind of ahead of this curve for, I think, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academies to start making things virtual during this time. I mean, it's not going to be forever, but you're bringing this, this reality for your students so that they can actually justify, obviously paying for the jiu-jitsu training. They're still getting training. It's just not the optimal training. So like
Absolutely.
talk about some of the things that, like, as soon as this thing hit, tell me like what your thought process was and kind of your go-to as soon as you started saying, oh, we're going to have to close down.
Yeah, so it kind of came on fast, right? Like, so we have one parent here who was like, he was extremely ahead of the curve. I mean, this is before we had any confirmed cases basically outside of China. He's like, look, man, this thing's bad. It's going to hit hard. And when it gets here, it's going to be crazy. And we're kind of like, oh, you paranoid. You're paranoid,
Whatever.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
And even then, like, and I joke, and I'm pretty, you know, dismissive of certain things, and I don't take a lot of things seriously. So, when it came to like addressing this and talking to him and stuff, I would joke about like, just how I don't care at all, and I'm not going to do anything about it.
Sounds
Right?
like, it sounds like what you'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like,
Meanwhile,
obviously, you need to be thoughtful and you have to be responsible. I mean, you can't. I don't think that it's. I don't think that you can be out here coaching kids in a martial art and then saying, oh yeah, we really, really care about your kid's safety and we're taking care of them on the mat. We're going to make sure they don't get hurt, and then not address something like as serious as the COVID-19 with, some prudence. So he was saying a lot of this stuff. And then, I think the thing that hit me, so the information that I came across where then I talked to my partner, Ben, and we pulled the trigger on canceling the classes. And at the time we were like, we'll just cancel them for a week and then we'll revisit this. The information was that you're infectious before you're symptomatic.
right.
That was extremely scary, right? And and at the end of the day, like, right, I never was like, oh, I'm going to protect all of my students from it. They're never going to see the coronavirus because I'm the hero that stopped it, right? Like that was never kind of the thing. But it's like it's the flatten the curve idea. It's the, I would hate to think that I helped create a more serious situation. And if you want to personify it a little bit, like what if one of the kids' grandparents or my parents or somebody became sick and was a casualty of this,
Right.
particularly because, like, okay, so let's just hypothetically say, yeah, my mom gets sick and there wasn't a hospital bed for her, but meanwhile I'm over here running my gym class. Now I'm not saying that I had a direct impact on that and that my mom would have had a hospital bed had I just closed, but I can't be a part of that problem. And, and then if you subtract what difference does it make if it's my mom versus somebody else's mom?
Right.
Right.
No.
If I'm part of the problem, I'm part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was kind of like, look, we can't say that we care about the health and safety of people and then continue to disregard that and put being out on the mat ahead of everything else. And while I'm like everybody else, I have some skepticism as to how serious everything is and what are the real numbers. But
yeah,
this is a mistake that, like, okay, worst case scenario, we end up having to close our doors here at the gym because, we were closed for too long. But what's worse than that is we didn't take it serious and somebody got hurt because of our inaction.
And that's the catch-22. I think all these, your academy, Abmar's, Disciple for me. That's my old gym. Just watching all these guys having to put out videos saying, "Look, we're sorry, but we have to close down." And it's like, and it's not only that you're sorry. Yeah, guys like you, that you do put safety ahead of business, which is probably really rare. There's also the business side of it too, because that's our home, right? That's our home. That's a home for a lot of people. The Jiu-Jitsu Academy it's where they go. It's where they develop lifelong friendships and relationships, and obviously this lifelong practice. And it's one of those things where you're basically shutting down a part of you, and you're just like the cost of it is so much bigger than we're closing down and it sucks. It's like your livelihood, people's lives in general. That's why I go, I wonder how long this is really gonna. I mean, even if they say it's gonna get worse and worse and worse, it's like how many, like you said, how many people are gonna go, you know what? It's really not that bad. They're going to use their own judgment and say it's really not that bad, and we're opening back up. Would you ever make that that call?
So it's possible, right? I mean, I think that because I don't have all the answers right now, it would be a pretty rash thing to say, "Oh, well, now I would never do this or I would never do that." If with a different set of information, that I'm going to make a different decision. And the more and more we learn about this, then, the better, the more informed decisions that we can make about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, like what you're talking about is like, so the jiu-jitsu element is what kind of brought us together. But, and particularly the kids class, I love the adults too. Don't get me wrong. I love the adults that I train with, but I mean, like me, like the energy that I pick up off the kids, I stopped maturing when I was probably like 14 years old myself. So like,
you don't say.
I'm in here with them, like, and people have said this, like you're so impatient with adults, but you have so much patience when it comes to kids. It's like,
yeah, true.
I connect really well with the kids, and I like hanging out with them. And I've been in a part of like situations where, I had to say goodbye to, a large number of and it hurt. It hurt like losing students and like not being able to see them just because of circumstances and stuff. And so now it's like, this isn't as bad because I'm going to see all my students again, but I still miss them. Like it's still weird coming to an empty gym and being like, yeah, I mean, normally, today's Monday. Normally I would have seen pretty much all the kids today. We'd have had the 4 and 5-year-olds in at 4:45. Me and Ben teach that class, and me and Ben teach the 6 to 12s. And this would have been the first week without the self-defense class. So we'd have probably played a pretty long game of dodgeball. Kids have been super mad that there haven't been games because we've been running that self-defense class.
Yep.
But just being out there and like feeding off their energy, it makes me more youthful in the rest of my activities. And I have a lot more patience in other aspects of my life because I'm, getting the benefits of doing other things that I love in this time. So
yeah,
that's an added stress as well, right? Like, so there's there's the business aspect of it, but, in the end of the day, I think that'll all work itself out, and it is like, it's a tough situation. Like, if you were working in the restaurant industry right now, like, what are you doing? If you're a waiter, what do you do? What's your game plan? Right? I mean, you still got to eat.
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah. Well,
it's like, and like this area, like while we do have, and I think that we get a little bit, like just living in this area, we get a little bit like where we don't see everybody as well. I'm an electrical engineer during the day. So like, this is something else that I do. So I'm not really worried like, oh, well, what if I can't pay the mortgage, or what if I don't have food for money or money for food? I don't worry as much about that stuff.
But you're not, but you're not like the mom or dad who's living paycheck to paycheck, got the kids, got the mortgage, and the one job, like you said, restaurant industry, who, there's some servers out there that make good money doing that stuff, especially in this area, in the Washington, D.C. area. You can make a lot of money, but now you don't. What do you do now? What do you do?
Well, I mean, how many, what are Uber drivers doing right now? Right? I mean, like, the bar industry is pretty much, there is no bar industry, right? So what are the Uber guys doing? Like there's like financial ramifications for everything. And the one thing that's interesting about jiu-jitsu is we have all walks of life in here. Like, right,
Yep.
not everybody in here is like, oh yeah, I put on my suit and tie, I go to my office. Oh, it's no big deal. So what? I'll telecommute for 4 weeks. Big whoop. Right? We do have those guys. We also have the guy that's, that's working in the restaurant, or somebody who's the stagehand. Like there's a lot of industries right now that there's just not work. And if you're working a wage job, like, and you're not working hours, then you're not getting paid.
Right. Yeah. It's devastating.
So we have to think about that too. Like, what are things? So this is why, like, and again, this is a small thing, and I'm not sure that, but we're not just posting the videos for our gym. Like, we're not putting it behind our private group on Facebook or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're making it available to anybody in this community or elsewhere, right? Because there's a bunch of people that are at home all day with their kids, and that's a change. Being around kids for 24/7 is a change for a lot of parents.
Yeah, you can say that again.
Yeah, but and just like and now they're limited as to what they can do. So, we try to do, the lessons that we've been doing online, we try to make them informative and something that you can learn from, but also, 15 to 20 minutes, like little bit of a hard exercise to maybe just wear them down a little bit as well. So, it's like one of those things. It's like, and if somebody wants to leave comments on this and you have ideas of like, oh, you know what you didn't think of, put them in here, because
Yeah.
my job as a coach is not to say that I have all the answers. It's to become a better coach. I always want to learn and become better and better and better at what I'm doing. And so if you have ideas that can make me better, please like let me know that as well.
There you go. So let me ask you this. Speaking of the students out there, that can't come in, what do you recommend them? And we're talking like the white belts all the way on up. What are some things that they should be doing at home since they can't come in the gym?
Just staying engaged, right? Like, so part of the big thing that this is really going to hurt is it takes, 2 weeks to build a routine. It takes 2 weeks to destroy a routine, right? And so we're already getting close to that 2-week mark. And, there are people that had like these routines where they were here 5 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, right? I think you still need to preserve that time. You can't, be like, oh, well, I really like watching Love is Blind on Netflix, and so that's my new thing that I'm doing at this time. It's just to find I would encourage people to just, for the adults, let's say, keep that 7:30 to 9 or that 6:30 to 8:30 time windows where you would normally be at the gym working out. Keep them kind of reserved for jiu-jitsu. Think about jiu-jitsu. Review your notes. Like, this is a time that you could be a little bit more reflective. A lot of times we just write our notes. We never go back and read them. And that's still helpful. I'm not saying that a person shouldn't do that, but now maybe it's a time to go back and read those notes. Look up a YouTube video that reminds you of those techniques. While we were doing these videos, so on Saturdays, that's when Coach Vaji came in and we filmed all the short clips for the webpage that we just showed earlier. I was going through there and I was like, what is this? Like, what technique is this that I'm, and I was like, oh, dude, I remember this choke. I used to do this all the time about 8 months ago. But it's like, there's so much that you forget.
Yeah.
So like, now's a good time to look through those journals. And then the other thing is like, you can do mental repetitions of stuff. It's not as helpful as actually doing it, but you can say, okay, what are areas that I want to get better at? What are things I want to focus on? And then also just the physical aspect. Maybe during the jiu-jitsu time slot, you're throwing on your running shoes because weather's about to get a lot nicer. Throwing on your running shoes, getting outside, run for 30 minutes, and you come back in and you watch, there's so many resources right now, like
all out there.
Jiu-jitsu, everybody's released something for free.
Yeah. Speaking of, speaking of, I want to plug Silver Fox. You guys don't know Karol Pravik. He goes by Silver Fox. He's up in New Jersey. He's a Henzo student. We had him on the podcast. Actually, Tad helped me.
He's awesome dude.
What'd you say?
He's awesome dude. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to him.
He put out. He's been doing the same thing that you've been doing, putting out just a ton of free content for people online to be able to still keep training. That another example of a guy like doing the same thing that you're doing. That and people are just eating that up because they're like, oh, this is awesome. At least we're staying engaged, and staying engaged. Actually, let me say this to people out there that already go to a gym. If your instructor is putting stuff out, then obviously stick with that instructor, watch all their stuff and share that stuff. Because you're helping out the gym by doing that. You're helping out your instructor, and obviously you're helping out other people on your page, on your feed. Follow somebody who's reputable. I was going to ask you, do you think that it's worth it for people that have the means to buy? Let's say like me, I don't have anybody really to do any real jiu-jitsu with. Obviously, I'll even though my daughter has been training as long as I have, it's not the same, right? Do you recommend people getting one of those training dummies or something for their home?
The training dummies are great, but I will say that I feel like people do, if you're going to make that commitment to buy something like that, don't let it be like the treadmill or exercise bike that you bought and you just put in the garage.
Yeah.
And those things become training jiu-jitsu by yourself takes mental fortitude. If you're going to go out there and be like, okay, today I'm going to do 50 arm bars and I'm going to do 50 of these, you before you buy it, write down what your plan is to do with it.
That's good. That's a good advice right there. That's awesome.
And then make yourself do it, because when it comes, you're going to be like, this guy doesn't really fight back. This is, unless you're buying it just so you can, make the Instagram post.
I was just I forget what I was watching, but I watch a lot of different videos, and I forget what it was about, but it had something to do with training. And the person said the same exact thing. They said, people buy the stuff, right? They buy the equipment without the plan. And it's like, you did that backwards. You're supposed to have the plan first that you can have accountability to, and then you buy the equipment. And don't buy a lot of equipment. Be loyal to that piece of equipment. Like if you go out, people buy let's say all the CrossFit stuff. They buy the whole CrossFit thing. They get the kettlebells, the weights, they get the whole thing. And then they don't use it because it's overwhelmed.
It's like that little dude in Little League that had the $600 baseball bat but struck out all the time.
Yeah.
I think we get you so far having the equipment. You gotta use it.
It's almost like people think if I buy this, the thing is going to make me accountable. It's like, no, it's not going to make you accountable. First of all, you got to have a reason for why you're doing it. That's the most important thing. You have to have a reason that as soon as you think about it, that's the motivator. And then the second thing is then having the plan to get to that reason to accomplish that goal. And then after that, then you buy the equipment. Then you start training with Tad at Alpha Jiu-Jitsu. You know what I mean? You have to have the reason why you're doing it in the first place, or you've seen so many people, they get a membership at Alpha, and then, where'd they go? You don't see them no more.
Yeah. And that's a good point. You definitely have to have a plan, and you can't spend the money to make you accountable.
Right.
Right. Because if that's and I'll say this, if you're like, dude, I don't know if I can afford this, and then you spend the money, that will make you a little bit more accountable.
Yeah.
But people with disposable incomes spending the money on stuff, it's disposable income. So you're being a little bit wasteful, but that's not going to make you do something. And the other thing is do your research. If you're thinking about buying a grappling dummy, look at the grappling dummy and say, okay, what are the things I can actually use this for?
Yeah. Yep.
Because if this ends up being something that's okay, I can practice transitioning from side control to mount. I can practice my arm bars from the top. but I can't really practice passing because it doesn't. Let's say this one doesn't have legs. I can't practice passing the guard. It's going to be tough practicing things when I'm in the guard. It's really tough to practice sweeps working against one of these dummies. Um, so you have to kind of say, okay, like, does this suit what I actually want to be practicing and training with? The other thing is like, if you're living alone, like, but you're married, you have a wife, you could act like, no, listen, okay. She doesn't even have to do the jujitsu part of it, right? But she could lay on her back doing butterfly hooks, and you could practice windshield
That's
wipers
true.
and
That's
meet.
true. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's not even for her. For her, that's like she's just contribute helping you maintain your thing. And it was really a great idea. Justin Lowe's Academy, Justin Lowe and his wife out in Percival, they posted basically a challenge, like a spouse, sibling, friend challenge, roommate challenge, whatever it is. It's like, look, do you have a roommate that loves doing jujitsu, but you don't do jujitsu? Put on a gi, help them do their training at home, and maybe you'll catch the bug, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is an option, right? Like, most people have an extra gi. You could give a gi to your wife. She could play around a little bit with it, right? But you don't. You're not gonna spar your wife, right? Like, that's not what's gonna. But
No, I'll destroy
maybe
her.
do some drill. Yeah, maybe and you can teach her a few things and let her do it. Like, that is the kind of a way. So people are like, oh, this is actually really interesting. It's like, oh, you mean that, like, my arms, even though they're not near as strong as yours, if I wrap them around your head this way, you're gonna choke and go to sleep? That's pretty cool. So sometimes you can engage like that with the people that you live with, the
Yeah.
people that you're quarantined with. Unfortunately for us, like, a lot of our students, a lot of the people that are here at Alpha, particularly the kids, they're training with their families.
Hmm.
Um, we have a lot of families that train together. So in this regard, like, people, they could work with each other. Now the size disparities is big in a lot of cases, but that's the same as with your daughter. She could train with you, and that she's not going to hurt you,
No.
and you can give her the right looks. And she, honestly, if she trained with you, it'd be better than her training with any of the other kids that are her age, because you're a lot more knowledgeable. You can give her the right resistance, because you are also a practitioner. But that's something that, you know, and you're busy. I'm not putting you on the spot, but, like, that's something you can say, okay, well, normally you do jujitsu on these days. You're going to keep doing jujitsu on these days.
Right.
Maybe you tune in, watch the Facebook Live
Yep.
with me. We go over stuff together, and then you practice the drills and do those with your daughter. Like, that's something that could be doable for you, depending on what the schedule and stuff is. And the videos after we go live with them, we share them, so you can always jump back in and do one of those workouts again.
Do you think it's advisable for people that haven't trained jujitsu before? Like, let's say I've got a friend, right? And let's say he's got, family members. Yeah, a friend. And he's got family members. Maybe he's got a son, daughter, whatever. None of them have ever done jujitsu before. Is it advisable for them to maybe, like, watch one of your videos and just kind of a way to just kind of try it out? And would they be able to do that, you think?
Yeah, so my videos, like, particularly if you started the first one. So the first one, like, I go over basically it's just solo movements. That's really all we do in the first video. And so I kind of go over, like, these are a bunch of the basic movements that we do in jiu-jitsu. This is how they're done. Now that you have that as an idea, I'm going to set up the clock, set up the timer, click go, and then we just go through that and do those movements. And that being said, you're not going to fall in love with jiu-jitsu doing that. Like, but you can do that. Nobody, there's no danger. The movements aren't, like, crazy or whatever. For the other person, like, should a person who does jujitsu start training a person who doesn't do jujitsu? And in that case, I would say it would be a case by case basis, right? If you have a brand new white belt teaching a brand new white belt,
Oh, that's
you've
problems.
seen white belts when they go after each other, right? Coach Vaji is, he's not shy to admit that the white belt matches at tournaments are his favorite to watch. They're absolutely insane. It's just crazy stuff happens.
Yeah,
They
because
don't
they're
know all of the rules all the time,
nope.
and stuff goes wild. And not to mention that, when people first start training jujitsu, they want to win. Right now is not the time to want to win when
by
you're
any by any
training in
means.
private with, yeah. But, so let's say, let's do another situation. Let's say you're a dad who has a kid in jujitsu, but you don't train jujitsu yourself. To what level should you participate with your child doing jujitsu?
Just be a
Right?
dummy, like you said. Put your hands up and just be like,
Yeah, exactly. So like pretty much any of the stuff from the bottom position, if you're playing guard, bottom side control, things like that. And so long as you're responsible, and you have them on their back and you don't just, flop on them, right? Like if you're a good parent, you can be a good dummy. That's
I will.
pretty simple.
I will say, one thing that white belts tend to do. You don't want to do this to your kid. It, like you said, they put all their weight in like the wrong place, and you could wreck your kid by doing that. So if you're gonna do that, make sure that you're not just like slamming
Yeah.
down on them, falling on them. Not a
So
good
what
thing.
I'll say, yeah. So I would say that it's that basically if you're an adult training with a kid, you should be more or less motionless, right? Like you should let the kid's energy be what moves everything, right? You shouldn't be trying to pass your kid's guard, probably, because you lose your balance, you fall elbow, right? Smaller kid, somebody's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But if you just play the slightly resistive inanimate object, like that's perfectly fine. If you're on
Mhm.
the bottom, you let them pass your guard into side control, everything's fine there. You let them work to mount and work their submissions on you, absolutely fine. And you just kind of treat yourself like a resistive band and they can kind of go their speed. And for the things like, okay, well, that's great. My kid can practice the stuff on the top. Well, how did my kid practice the stuff on the bottom? Well, for that case, you can do some drills where it's like, okay, I step and I just put my foot next to your hip and just lean into you slightly so that you feel some pressure, and now you can recover the guard, right? But I don't really want to be now. If you're more experienced, like I spar with the kids all the time, and it doesn't matter their size, and I'm very very careful with them because I understand jujitsu better than most. Um, if you're a person who's less experienced, right? Like the key is, when we tell you to have side control, and but this is one of the things I talked about in our live session earlier today, is you always want to drive pressure through your opponent and then into the floor. You don't want it to be like, oh, well, half's going to the floor, half's going to my opponent. When you're rolling with your kids or somebody who's a lot smaller than you, that's when you need to start anchoring to the floor and then applying just the right amount of resistance. So it's okay for you to be in side control on your daughter, so long as
Yeah.
you're stationary and you're not. If she slides out of the way, you don't fall over.
Right.
Okay, if you fall over when she moves, then you're being too heavy. And so that can be, you can do that and you can do that safely. And that's just kind of like, use good judgment while you're doing stuff like that, and you'll be completely fine.
Cool. Let me ask you. You're friends with a lot of other gym academy owners. How are they doing during this thing?
So, and it's different, right? Like, so I talked to like Abmar and Marisha, right? They run Abmar Barbosa Jiu-Jitsu down in Tyson's Corner. Um, this is the Jiu-Jitsu is their livelihood. So it's a combination of, you know, gym memberships as well as private lessons and stuff like that. And that's how they pay all of their bills, right? So like there's a great deal of stress just associated with the uncertainty of this, because there's nothing that says that like, oh well, at the end of 30 days we're back up and running.
Back up and running. Nope.
They might say, you know what, we did a good thing and we flattened the curve some, but the curve needs to be a lot flatter, and if we resume right now, things are going to be bad again, and so there's just a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen, and we don't know what's going to happen with landlords that they we have landlords too. They want to be paid for the space that we're renting, but how does that work when the state of Virginia says that we can't even occupy those spaces, right? Like, we're kind of dealing in completely uncharted waters right now. And, but most everybody I know has tried to engage online a lot. And now Alpar being a little bit of an exception there, because he was like, you know what, like if the state says we can run classes with 10 people, we're going to run classes with 10 people. So so this is hitting him like, so for me, it hit me harder like 10 days ago. And now this is just kind of like more gravity to the situation, realizing that, okay, this is going to be basically 40 days off. It's a long time. This is like, I can't remember the last time wasn't like training for that duration of time. Um, and that's me. When you talk about like somebody who's world class level like Abmar, Marisha, we have the academy, our sister academy in Purcellville, Justin Lowe Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's their livelihood too. And you know, and we have to be flexible a little bit when it comes to like if one of my students says, "Hey man, like I lost my job, like what do we do?" Right? You know, I'm a big proponent of everything needs to be dealt with. We're dealing with we're people. We're not business, right? Like, and if you deal with people like business, then I think that it taints the jujitsu livelihood type thing, or the jujitsu life for me a little bit. So just deal with everything with everybody's dealing with people on a case by case basis. But yeah, there's a lot of stress, and you want people people that are able to continue to support the gym. You want them to continue to support the gym, absolutely. And what I'm trying to do with like the online stuff is, one, it's therapy for me because I hate being away from this. But two, it's also like so that people are like, yeah, this guy's he didn't just skip town and enjoying a super long vacation. He's still engaging, and he's still working hard to support this martial art that our kids are interested in, or the adults as well.
Yeah, you guys are like I said, you guys are ahead of the curve as far as making sure that people are still engaged with you. They get to see your face every day. So yeah, that I'm really hoping that this thing blows over quicker than they're estimating. B,
Absolutely.
yeah. B, I also hope that people are, for Alpha Jiu-Jitsu, obviously, but for all the good academies out there, I hope people are going to realize like how much work you're actually putting in, because it's a ton of work. Like I know how much work it is that you're doing because with my business we do a lot of video stuff. So I know how much like this it takes to do something like what you're doing, to have it posted, to be consistent with it. And you don't have to be doing that, but you are. So I hope people realize that. And my last question before we kind of finish the interview is going forward, because like you said, we had an interview, you and I, like last year or something, where you'd mentioned, I'd asked you about the difference between white belts and blue belts and purple belts, right? And you had said that, the problem, why people will stop and not get their blue belt, and why blue belts will stop and not go more, is that they, A, feel like they accomplished something and they're done, or B, they take a long layoff, and the long layoff is enough to sort of keep them from coming back. And they always have in the back of their mind, oh, I'll go back. I will, magically I'll remember what I need to remember. It's like being on a bike and I'll just be able to get back in there. And it's not true, right? In this case, everybody is being forced to be on this layoff. Like you said, 40 days or whatever ends up being. That's going to be a lot of white belts and blue belts, I think, for sure, that are going to maybe not come back. Do you see something like that happening?
Honestly, like, so I think it's going to be different based on your gym, right? And it's going to be different based on, you know, what kind of approach and stuff. And then just, and I'm not saying, oh, like, because our gym's so good, we're going to be fine. I just mean that part of the reason why I think our gym's so good is because of the people who found us and that are training here. We have a lot of good people here. And I'm not attributing that because, like, oh, well, I attract the right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we have a really good group of people. And so, the students that we have, like Arnold, for example, like Arnold has been dying that he's not on the mat because he's had work in Baltimore. And then it's like basically the day that he could be back here, um, we ended up having to close because of the whole COVID-19. That's a guy that, like, do I have a doubt as to whether or not he's going to be here when we reopen? No. Arnold's going to be here. And that's the same for Bailey. That's the same for Justin. That's the same for all of them. I think that everybody, I think that the people that are training with us, I think that they're going to miss training and they're going to want to be back here with us when we come back. I could be wrong. But I think that we'll be okay. But in a more general sense, like, is this good? Yeah, absolutely. Particularly, like, there's some people that I think are wavering a little. Like, I think that people sign up, and you were talking about, like, sort of I had this monetary commitment to jiu-jitsu for the next year, so therefore I'm in jiu-jitsu for a year. There's some people like that. Maybe they see this as an opportunity to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to pick up the phone. I'm going to call the people. They're not providing the service. I'm out of my contract. Those people are gone. Like, those people they're not going to come back when things go. Now, that being said, like, I'm not saying anybody who puts a hold or a pause, but if there are going to be people that are like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to get out of that obligation, you're not going to see those guys again. But,
Good
but
riddance.
But I think that, because you don't want that energy in your gym anyway. Like,
No.
you want, though a lot of times those people aren't actually showing up, but yeah, we want the right kind of people. And so I guess to answer your question, yeah, I think that that's going to happen some, but I also think that there's the possibility of sort of, and I'm a little bit biased because I follow so many jiu-jitsu people online. And so I'm going to, like, just mention a few of these academies. So, obviously we're affiliated with Abmar Barbosa. We're affiliated with Justin Lowe out in Percival. And Justin Lowe's been doing online videos and stuff every day. Abmar, he's just a great ambassador for the sport. Like, the guy is constantly innovating and teaching us great stuff. But, go outside of our affiliation. There's still a bunch of really good jiu-jitsu. The guys over at Silverback Academy, and they're doing web stuff. They're still engaging. The guys, Dimitri Krisos, he's another guy who's really close to us in proximity, but he's putting out videos with some of his upper belts on a pretty regular routine as well. I see the guys at Battlefield Jiu-Jitsu out in Gainesville. They're posting, and they're doing something very similar to what we're doing, where they have online classes for everyone. So, and again, I may be biased because I'm so ingrained into the jiu-jitsu community that these are the people that I'm following on social media, but I see a bunch of this happening with jiu-jitsu. I don't see it so much with other things, but again, that's my bias. The other side of this is people are going to be at home. People are going to be on social media. People are going to see just how much the people like myself and the owners of these other academies love their sport, and the amount of time that they're putting in to their craft during this, pandemic, that they're going to say, and not to mention that they're also going to be getting cabin fever, right? Like, I think that the second that things start to get back to normal, people are going to want to jump back into normal. They're going to want more routines. They've canceled school for the rest of the year, but, pretty much as soon as we can open back up, we're going to open back up. And so, does that mean that we're offering more classes during the day? Who knows? Maybe if this is to help, parents and stuff. But they're going to be looking for activities for their kids. They're going to be looking for activities for themselves because they've been locked up for so long. So in a sense, I think that it may, the people that aren't interested, yeah, maybe they fall away and find other interests, which is great. People should find things that make them happy. But I think that just the social media presence and like, again, there's like free DVDs.
Yeah.
Like if you go to jujitsu, you, there's like 20 free DVDs. You just go to their specials and like free to the point of like you could download them, but you could also, if you're like, no, I want a free actual circular disc, they'll mail that to you with no shipping. Like they're giving you the DVD.
Are you talking?
And
Are you talking about like bjjfanatics.com, places like that?
I don't know about BJJ Fanatics, but the one I'm talking about particularly is Digitsu.
The
So
Jitsu.
Digitsu, yeah. So they have free DVDs that they'll actually mail you
Wow.
for no shipping,
Jeez.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I think that if people see like this is how much enthusiasm is in this sport of jiu-jitsu, maybe this is something that I should participate in or at least explore. Like, wouldn't it be cool if I had something that I was that passionate about in my life? And it's unfortunate. Like we have a new student here. He and his son just started. Chris and his son. Like that guy, there's certain people that somebody like they come in and you're like, this guy's like, he'll message me and he'll ask me, he's like, oh, is this a good DVD or is this something that I should look at? Like you can tell when people kind of get bit with the bug, and it's just really unfortunate timing that this all happened, right when his interest in the sport is starting to like really grow and take hold of him. But he'll be back. Like he's going to come back and he's going to love it.
Chris is solid. I've gotten to train with Chris some, and one thing that scares me about Chris is that he's so strong. He's a big guy, and he's
like one of those ex CrossFit. Well, I'm sure he still works out, but he did a lot of CrossFit type stuff too. So
and he doesn't. I mean, you just look at him in the gi. His gi might be a little big or something because you look at him. He doesn't look that strong, but me, I'm kind of a strong guy, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu. I'm a white belt, but I've been doing jiu-jitsu almost for 2 years. And I mean, I put this guy in a solid side control, and he just threw me off. So when this guy actually learns some skills, that's going to be scary.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great too to have somebody that's like in the same like weight bracket as a guy like Arnold, that those two guys will be able to really, and Arnold's like improved so much technically. I'm just getting all bummed because I don't get to see these guys as much now.
I know it's going to be great once we are together again.
But I think that the final point is that I think that there's a possibility that more people are going to be pulled into the sport as a result of this.
Ooh.
Now, one thing is probably, it's probably going to happen. It's very unfortunate is that the smaller academies or academies that I'll tell you this. Let's say that hypothetically somebody's listening to this and you just signed up for an academy and that academy's only got like 6 adults in it right now and it's only 4 months old. Okay. You got to, if you care about the people that are in that academy, those are the people that need your support the very, very most. Because those are where the sport will ultimately be hurt is if the people don't support those smaller gyms will go away, right? And if you're in an area that only has that smaller gym option, this might be your only chance to keep jiu-jitsu. So, and not to mention, and I'm not saying, oh, well, if there's another offer, there's another bigger gym down the street, then no, like for the smaller gyms, the upstarts, the ones that are just getting out there, like they really, really need your support.
Support them.
So, support them any way you can. And again, and maybe that's not maybe you can't do it financially right now, but but you can always. Let's say that I was in a position where I wasn't generating any revenue anymore because that's the field that I work in. If you really like your gym, there's still ways to support it. Talk to if your people are doing online videos, share them, like them, watch them all, participate, comment. do whatever you can for those
Free,
guys.
free ways to support your gym.
Yeah, and these are things I don't, you know, I like the sort of organic nature. I try not to push people too hard for like, oh, do this or do that, or it would be really nice if you check in every time you come to the gym. That's not in my personality, that aspect of. But if you want to help your gym, check in. Go do whatever. Now, this case is probably a bad example. You can't go and check in, but you can tag your gym in it. You can say, "Oh, look, I'm watching this video, thinking about you guys." Tag your gym, post comments, stuff like that. Engage with your teammates, right? Because I think that the thing that makes our team strong is that we have a good, group of people that we like and care about each other. That
It's a great community.
look, we go and watch the fights together. We spend time together.
Yep.
I went and played disc golf with a couple of the guys on Saturday. Like we we like each other outside of just jujitsu. So maintain those friendships as well. Keep talking to the people on your team, um, and just sort of keep keep the groups that you have, keep them together as best you can. And then when this thing gets over, your team will be even stronger as a result of it.
There you go.
And then, and like I said, maybe there'll be a bunch of new people that are looking for hobbies as well.
Right.
And if you do your part now, if you,
plant the seed.
like, yeah, if you're like, oh, you know what, like the guys at Battlefield Jiu-Jitsu, they're Jason out there, he's putting together these videos, he's doing a phenomenal job with it. If you're on that team, you need to be sharing all those videos. You need to be commenting. You need to be talking about it. You need to do all of that so that maybe your friends on Facebook that have kids, because you know how this works. A lot of your friends have kids that are the same age as your daughter that need hobbies or whatever. So if parents of his students share those videos, then other people are like, wow, this guy's going the extra mile to really provide a great product for these kids. And it's not just a great product. It's jiu-jitsu is more than just like, oh, my kid has jiu-jitsu skill set. Jiu-jitsu self-confidence. It's the ability to defend yourself if you need to. And there's a bunch of other aspects to it that come into play that make it more meaningful. And so, yeah, if you can support a guy who's teaching that to your kids, yeah, you should do that.
There you go. Yep. And it's free. So just do it,
Yeah.
Nothing's stopping you. And I think a lot of people just they're not used to doing it, but hey, get used to doing it because again, you're going to help you're going to help your gym out, but you're also going to, I think, help your friends out. If you or your kids start jiu-jitsu, it's one of the things that I really wish back when I got out of the military, I had an opportunity to stick with jiu-jitsu. I started it. I was a white belt. I was about a year in, and then I stopped doing jiu-jitsu. If I kept doing jiu-jitsu back then, I mean, golly, man, that was back in 2006. Imagine where I'd be.
Your first degree black belt today.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean,
possibly. Seriously, like if you stick with it all the way through, like that's just where you are now.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of those things. Like, get your kids in it as soon as possible. If it's something that you think that your kids would want to do or try, and that I'm telling you, it's more than just a hobby. It is a lifelong skill that's going to help them in so many different ways. And to me, look, you guys know I've been all throughout the martial arts. I've been a martial artist since the 80s. And I've done a lot of different kinds of martial arts. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the most, in my opinion, it's the easiest for anybody of any age to get into, and it's one of the hardest to master. And it's one of those ones where you absolutely need the years and the time in. So why not just get started now? You're only going to get older. Your kids are only going to get older. Why not start that now? So I mean, like Tad was saying.
And just to follow up on that, it's like one of the most cerebral sports that you could ever possibly do. It is such a I hate to use the analogy, the human chess, human whatever, but it's true. It really is. It's that that much thought and that much if you look at some of Danaher's flow charts, man, those things are crazy.
Schematics.
They're insane, but that's how much thought has been put into this sport. And the other thing is you don't have to be super athletic to be good at this. There are a lot of people come in and they're not athletic. and they stick with it. They stick with it. They stick with it, and they become very good.
One thing I want to add, thank you for saying that, because I didn't say this earlier, but I wanted to kind of tell you guys that are watching this, you know, one of the things I started doing when I started jiu-jitsu, I was way overweight. I was like 210 pounds, but I was still able to do jiu-jitsu and come in. And, you know, since I started jiu-jitsu, however many months ago, it's over a year and a half, but I'm down to 180 right now. I'm still losing weight, gaining muscle. But one of the things that I started doing probably about 4 months ago was get back into training, cross-training stuff, like outside of jiu-jitsu, because I still get smashed. I still would, you know, it's one thing you learn the techniques, but it's another thing to be also in shape and do the techniques as well. You know, it just makes it that much better and easier for you to apply the techniques, to train longer. So I'd say during this whole COVID-19 thing, get your plan, start following somebody or something, and lose the weight, the excess weight that you don't need, and get strong. Get stronger, get body weight strong, you know, be able to do the hundreds of push-ups, be able to do all the sit-ups and crunches, be able to run if you can run, or walk if you need to walk, or bike, whatever it is. Get that on point while you're not able to do jiu-jitsu. And when you come back or when you start jiu-jitsu, it's going to be that much easier for you.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
So I got to say, thanks for coming on, Tad. I mean, this is something that's been, I think, it's kind of done to death. You know, I'm kind of sick of, I don't click on COVID-19 things because I'm sick of it. But when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I do, because I want to kind of see how the gyms that I care about, how they're doing, and all the stuff they're putting out too, obviously. I just felt like we needed to talk, because watching you, I mean, it gets no closer to home for me, because, you know, you're my instructor. So kind of just getting your gauge and seeing how you're doing through this whole thing and what your strategy is for the near future was really important. Getting that out there to everybody out, you guys watching, and seeing kind of what a guy who owns a gym and he's doing well. I mean, he's doing well, and he's doing right by his students, kind of seeing what he's doing and how you can help wherever you're at, help your instructors and help your community, really. So I just want to thank you for coming on and sharing all that stuff.
No, it's awesome, man. It's always a pleasure, Leo. I you know, we can't do the cowboy fight series anymore. But
yeah, so we gotta find other things.
We gotta find other ways to get together, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and you know, we're gonna do another one.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Don't worry. Yeah, we'll be unquarantined from that eventually. But you know what?
So kind of a side note, but Greg had an idea. In addition to the like Facebook Live stuff, doing like tape breakdowns of jiu-jitsu matches.
Yes, I'm in it.
Like that. So like we could jump on Flow Grappling, pull like, you know, a video there, and then do, you know, just do a breakdown of a fight. Like say, okay, this is what these guys are doing. This is what's happening. This is where this guy messes up. But Greg had that idea. So
dude, let's do it.
That could be something that we could play with.
Let's do it. Let's do it this week, man. I'm ready.
Sounds good, bro.
That'll be fun. Actually, I got you know, I come in and I film these guys every once in a while, and you had a sparring match with one of our purple belts, Clem, that was like, it was outrageous. It was awesome, and there was so much stuff going on. And I'd like to actually, I told you I'd like to get you and Clem maybe together just to kind of talk through, okay, why'd you do that? Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely.
That'd be cool, man.
That'd be fun.
I think it'll help the community too, man. Cool. Well, I just want to say thank you to Tad, and thank you guys for watching. And, you know, stay tuned. We've got some really interesting guests coming up. That's all I can say right now. But we got a really interesting one coming up. If you like McDojos and the magic behind what those guys are doing, the tomfoolery, that's funny. Right, Thomas? The tomfoolery that these McDojos are up to, I got a really cool guest coming up this week. So anyway, thank you again, Tad.
Dude, that's a great teaser, man. Yeah. I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm intrigued.
Oh, we got a good one. All right, guys.
I'll definitely have to check that out.
Right.
I got some. I'll hit you up offline with some of my thoughts on that stuff.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. All right, guys. Absolutely. Take it easy. Thanks for watching Fight Game Podcast, and stay tuned. Like I said, we got a lot more coming.